Have you ever felt the urge to fix someone? Maybe a friend who is always anxious, a family member who feels broken, or even a partner who carries a deep sadness they can't shake off. You see them suffering, and something inside of you immediately wants to step in. You want to help, you want to heal, you want to take away their pain. On the surface, this feels noble, it feels compassionate. But here's the question, is it really helping? Or could it actually be making things worse? Jiddu Krishnamurti once pointed out that the very moment we attempt to heal another, we create distance between ourselves and them. Why? Because healing, in the way we usually think of it, comes from a position of superiority. You are the helper. They are the broken one. You are whole. They are incomplete. This very division is what deepens the wound. Think about it. The moment you see someone is broken, you have already placed a label on them. And once that label is there, it changes how you interact with them. Instead of meeting them as another human being, you meet them as a problem to be solved. And no one, deep down, wants to feel like they are a problem. Let's make this real. Imagine you have a friend who's going through a painful breakup. They're crying, they're angry, they're confused. Naturally, you want to be there for them. But if you approach them with the mindset, I need to heal you, you're no longer just listening. You're trying to fix. You start offering advice they didn't ask for. You suggest solutions. You try to drag them out of their pain because you can't bear to see them suffer. Notice what's happening here. Your reaction isn't purely about their healing. It's also about your discomfort with their pain. And the more you push to heal them, the more they might feel misunderstood. Instead of feeling supported, they might feel judged. Instead of feeling seen, they might feel small. That's how the wound deepens. Krishnamurti's insight is that real healing doesn't come from one person trying to fix another. Healing arises naturally when there is deep attention, presence, and love without agenda. But that's hard, isn't it? Because most of us are conditioned to do something. We can't just sit with someone's pain. We feel restless, awkward, helpless. So we reach for advice, for solutions, for strategies. Yet all of this comes from the assumption that the other person needs to be fixed. And that assumption is the wound itself. Let's flip the perspective. Imagine you're the one in pain. You've lost your job. You're struggling with self-doubt. And instead of someone sitting with you, instead of someone listening, they start throwing solutions at you. Just apply for more jobs. Just stay positive. Just focus on gratitude. How does that feel? Chances are, you feel even more isolated. You feel like they don't really get it. Their attempt to heal you ends up deepening your loneliness. This is exactly what Krishnamurti means. The more we try to heal another, the more we reinforce the wound. Because true healing is never about someone fixing someone else. What then is the alternative? The alternative is presence. Pure, simple, quiet presence. To be with someone without trying to change them. To listen without preparing your answer. To allow their pain to exist without rushing it away. This doesn't sound dramatic, but it's the most powerful form of love. When you sit with someone in silence, when you don't impose your idea of healing, something profound happens. They begin to feel safe. They begin to feel that their pain is not wrong. And in that space, the natural intelligence of life itself brings healing. Not you, not your advice, but the very act of being fully present. Krishnamurti often emphasized that real change cannot be forced from outside. It has to arise from within, from direct awareness. In the same way, healing is not something you do to another person. Healing unfolds when there is no interference, when there is no healer and no broken one. Only two human beings sharing the same moment. That is where compassion lives. That is where real connection happens. Now you might wonder, does that mean I should never help anyone? Should I just sit there and say nothing? Not exactly. Of course, if someone asks for practical help, like driving them to the doctor or helping them pay a bill, you act. But when it comes to the wounds of the heart, to the deep pain of the mind, help doesn't mean fixing. It means presence. It means love without demand. It means being there without creating the role of healer. And this is where it gets uncomfortable for most of us. Because to truly be present with someone suffering, you have to face your own. Their sadness touches your sadness. Their fear echoes your fear. That's why so many people rush to heal. It's a way of escaping their own pain. But Krishnamurti challenges us to stay with it, to sit in the fire, to let the discomfort teach us. Because only then do we stop projecting our need for healing onto others. Only then can we meet them as equals. Think about how different relationships would be if we understood this. Imagine parents who don't try to fix their children but simply listen to them. Imagine friends who don't rush to give advice but allow silence to speak. Imagine partners who don't treat each other as projects to be improved, but as beings to be loved as they are. That kind of space heals more deeply than any advice or technique ever could. When Krishnamurti spoke about healing, he wasn't talking about techniques or spiritual methods. He was pointing towards something much more radical. He suggested that real healing happens when there is no resistance to what is. When you or someone else is in pain, the first instinct is to push it away, to resist, to escape. And when you try to heal another person from that place, what you're really doing is reinforcing their resistance. You're telling them, this pain should not be here. But the truth is, the moment you reject pain, you give it more power. Think of a child crying. If you tell the child, stop crying, don't feel this way, the child doesn't suddenly feel better. The child feels unheard. But if you simply hold the child, if you let the tears flow without judgment, a natural calmness eventually arrives. That's healing without trying to heal. And the same is true for adults. We may not cry like children, but inside we carry wounds that also need space to breathe. The problem is, most of us never allow that space because we are too busy trying to fix it, hide it, or heal it from the outside. Krishnamurti's wisdom invites us to look deeper. Can we be with someone suffering without naming it, without labeling it, without immediately rushing toward an answer? That silence is not passive. It's deeply active. It's alive. Because in that silence, you are offering your full presence. And presence is healing in itself. Not because you're doing something, but because you're allowing life to unfold without interference. Let's bring this into a real-world scenario. Imagine you're sitting with a friend who's going through depression. The usual reaction is to say, don't worry, things will get better. Think positive. Try meditation. Go to the gym. All of these suggestions may come from good intentions, but notice what they communicate. You shouldn't feel what you're feeling. You should be somewhere else. That message makes the wound deeper, but imagine instead you sit beside them and say nothing. You listen. You don't shrink away from their pain. You don't judge it. You don't try to take it away. You let it be. In that space, they don't feel like a problem to be solved. They feel like a human being accepted as they are. That acceptance is the soil where healing begins. And here's the paradox. The less you try to heal, the more healing can actually take place. Because now it's not about your will, your effort, or your methods. It's about allowing something deeper than you to work. Krishnamurti often said that truth is discovered in silence, not in effort. Healing works the same way. The silence of presence does more than the noise of advice. But why is this so hard for us? It's because being present with another's pain requires us to look at our own. If I see you anxious, and I can't sit with your anxiety, it's usually because it mirrors my own hidden anxiety. If I see you grieving, and I feel restless, it's because I've never allowed myself to fully face grief. So instead of being present, I try to fix you, hoping that by fixing you, I can escape myself. This is why Krishnamurti emphasized self-understanding. Without knowing yourself, every attempt to heal another is simply an extension of your own escape. So perhaps the real question is not, how do I heal others? But rather, can I understand myself deeply enough to meet others without the urge to fix them? Can I watch my own reactions when I see suffering? Can I notice the discomfort, the urge to give advice, the impulse to change what is happening? And can I stay with that, without acting on it? If you can, then something shifts. You begin to see that your so-called compassion was often just an escape from your own pain. And in that seeing, a different kind of compassion is born. One that doesn't try to heal, but simply loves. So the next time you feel the urge to heal someone, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I trying to fix them, or am I willing to simply be with them? True healing doesn't come from effort or technique. It comes from presence, from love without condition, from silence that says, "You are not broken, you are simply human." Krishnamurti reminds us that healing is not something one person gives to another. It's not an act of will, it's not a project. It's the natural outcome of being fully present, without resistance, without judgment. When you stop dividing yourself as the healer and the other as the wounded, a new space opens up. In that space, both of you are transformed. Ironically, the less you try to heal, the more healing can happen. Because then it's not about control, it's about allowing life to move as it naturally does. So let go of the urge to fix. Instead, listen. Be present. Love without agenda. And you may discover that the deepest healing of all happens not when you try to cure the wound, but when you stop calling it a wound at all.